Hello, good evening on this Sunday, December 6th, 2020. The time is 10:48 p.m. and welcome to Aisha's Journey Journal Entry. And I will be doing the installment 4 of the Win for Life book, and I will be starting at chapter 11. And I will read until the 45 minutes is run out, or until if I finish the book before the 45 minutes, I'm going to do a brief comment of the book at the end. But I'm going to jump right into it, so here we go. Chapter 11. Ia and Amila arrived at Mrs. Yabayer's a little after 8 a.m. Miles was fast asleep, and Ia wasn't far behind. Amila kept her up all night, crying. Ia tried ignoring her, but that didn't work. After 20 minutes, Ia gave in and picked her up. The housekeeper, Miss Robbins, helped Ia bring everything inside. She looked around. Mr. Cecilia wasn't there. Miss Robbins, is Miss Cecilia there? I asked, sitting down at her bar stool in the kitchen. She had a call last night for Mr. Yabayer, and she has not returned, Miss Robbins explained. Oh, we were invited to spend some time with her before she leaves for France, she explained. Mila's eyes slowly broke open. She scanned her surroundings, finally landing her eyes on Ia's soft legs, then up toward her face. Oh, yes, I know. I was told to keep you until she returned. Is that okay? Miss Robbins asked. That's fine, Ia agreed. She unfastened Amila and picked her up to feed her. If you're hungry, I'll prepare anything you'd like. Crepes, eggs, bacon, fruit, oatmeal. Ia thought for a minute, slightly overwhelmed. She stared at Miss Robbins, a woman of about the same age as herself, preparing to serve her like she just won the lottery. I don't want to impose, but I should be okay, I answered. Are you sure? Mrs. Yabayer will have my apron if I don't keep you accommodated. She doesn't like posers, as she says. I think her son taught her that word. Well, it is my pleasure, Miss Miller. Do not be afraid, Miss Robbins explained. I thought for half a second. Well, I'd love some French toast with bacon and fresh fruit, please, I answered. Oh, right away, Miss Robbins answered. Please be seated in the entertainment room. I'll bring your food shortly. Miss Robbins grabbed the car seat and both of Amila's diaper bags and my purse as well. It led us down a long hallway to the right of the living room. We came to an elevator. I was starstruck. It was unbelievable. We went down one floor to an expansive space. On site, there was a huge sectional with recliners. In front of that was a large TV, maybe about 50 inches, and a stacked entertainment system. There was a coffee table and a wet bar. On the other side of that was a recording studio which I had never seen before in my life. They turned a corner to another area, a sitting area with a small table and chair, a love sofa and a small TV. There was a swing already set up in place for Amila. Miss Robbins left us there and went to prepare breakfast. I changed Mouse's pamper and placed her in the swing. I gave her small toy and let her just slightly swing away. She was quite content. I lay back on a love seat, which was also a recliner, and turned on the TV. I kept the volume just loud enough so she didn't fall asleep. I watched my daughter swing in the chair, just wondering what she could be thinking about. The small rubber duck fit perfect in her tiny hands, her eyes fixated on it as she tried to figure out what it was, then finally giving up and biting down on it till saliva dripped from it. After she gnawed on it a little, she kicked her feet in excitement and would let out this shrill laugh like she discovered happiness in herself. I watched her wave the toy in the air in celebration like she was walking in a parade. I fell in love with Waldo again, just looking at her. The part of Waldo that helped bring her into the world, I guess. I could see him holding her, smiling, proud that he was a father. I was so happy for Amila, knowing Waldo would never hurt her, that he'd always treat her right and with respect. Me and this page is not going to have issues today. Even if he didn't treat me that way. Before I knew it, I was crying. Tears were running down my face, and I was sobbing quite loudly, but I didn't care. I was so happy. Thank you, God, I cried out. Amila didn't seem to notice, and I was so happy she didn't. I pray that she never finds this part of me. About 20 minutes later, Miss Robbins arrived with a rolling cart of food. There was French toast with butter and syrup, strawberries and bananas, a fruit salad, orange juice and coffee, water and bacon. I was overwhelmed. My eyes were just bigger than my stomach, I guess. The first thing I did After I thanked Miss Robbins, was chew up a small piece of strawberry for Miles. She loved them strawberries and pineapples. Halfway through the French toast, Miss Robbins came back with a cell phone in her hand. I'm so sorry to disturb you, Miss Miller, but Mrs. Yabayer is waiting for you outside. Oh, okay, yes. I wiped my mouth and took off Mouse's bib, which was stained with dribble and strawberries. I placed her back into the car seat and strapped her in. Again, Miss Robbins grabbed both diaper bags in my purse while I grabbed the Mila. I started toward the elevator until Miss Robbins stopped me. Oh, no, Miss Miller, it's this way. We walked around another corner and down a shorter hallway, then up a small flight of steps to a door. When Miss Robbins opened the door, we were outside on the side of the house. We walked down a concrete path that led through a small wooded area to a clearing. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had to blink twice to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Mrs. Cecilia was standing next to a huge black helicopter. She wore black shades and a lace black scarf covered her hair. She wore a beautiful black summer gown with a shawl and black-heeled sandals. They looked like Jimmy Choo's, but I wasn't too ignorant on my shoe game. Mrs. Cecilia, I said, hugging her. She grabbed my hand and said, "You both coming with me to Manhattan. You spend a day in the city." I was shaking all over. Miss Robbins helped me load Amila into the 6-passenger helicopter and fasten her in. She put our bags in a small luggage compartment under the seats, and then she waved goodbye. She walked away from the helicopter pad far enough away so that the pilot was clear to start the copter. The sound of the propellers launched me beyond my wildest dreams. Mrs. Yabayer grabbed my hand. "I'm so happy that you decided to come today. I've told Manuel all about Amila and you. He can't wait to meet you." "I wouldn't have missed this for the world, Miss Cecilia. Thank you for inviting us." The helicopter lifted higher and higher until the house looked like a fancy shoebox on the ground. Amila didn't even notice what was going on or that she was with her abuela or her abuela on her first of many helicopter rides. I looked down over Greenwich and Cos Cob, Lower Fairfield County, as we made our way to the city. The trees below looked like broccoli on a large concrete plate. I took a deep breath, still trembling with excitement. I was in the midst of the ultimate luxury, thanks to a man that would never allow me such luxury, but in the same breath walked me right into it. Mrs. Cecilia had one hand holding mine and the other hand holding Miles, her whole hand wrapped around Mrs. Cecilia's finger. She talked to Miles almost the whole trip. I stared out the window at the planet below, just believing in myself and the opportunity I had just stepped into. Who knew I'd be in the helicopter on my way to Manhattan to spend the day in the city? And that was the end of chapter 11. And now we are at chapter 12. The barbecue in Japan was like a small class reunion. Half of the people he knew, spoke to in the hallways, laughed and smiled with. The others were just strangers, but just as friendly. Over 30 people swarmed the backyard of the White Estate near the end of Japan Avenue. The hostess, Jason, remembered from high school, said it was her aunt and uncle's home, and they were away on vacation. The mischief had already began. People making out in the open, on blankets, on the grass, and lawn chairs. 2 guys were passed out drunk at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Jason grabbed the beer and sat down on a bench a few feet from the pool. He watched a few girls swimming, but mostly he watched them in their bikinis and bathing suits. "Just wait a few more hours. The party's going to turn up," Lonzo bragged while wiping his hands on his pants. He had took off all of his clothes except swimming trunks. "I bet," Jason answered, while taking small sips of the light beer. "When Lasso and Hugo get here." Oh boy, Lonzo continued. Jason laughed. He already knew what that meant. Hugo, though, he already knew, and Lasso were huge potheads. They pushed a little as well, but marijuana was not Jason's style. "Oh, they better shut the pool down when those 2 get here. There's bound to be a drowning," Jason joked. Just then, Lonzo remembered something he wanted to tell Jason for over a week. "Oh, that's it. I knew there was something I wanted to tell you." Jason perked up and leaned in to listen. "Remember Mike Duvac from back in the day, over off Henry and Calder Street in the South End?" Lonzo asked. Jason thought for a minute. The name didn't ring a bell. Jason just nodded his head no. "Well, you know Donna Little, right? Mitchell's little sister? They call her Little Dot," Lonzo asked. "Little Dot sounds familiar. Didn't she used to go out with Troll in them? I mean, Tyler Hugh from Norwalk? I used to see them at the spot sometimes when I used to, Jason hinted. He really didn't want to acknowledge his demons, not while they were still so close to the flames. Yeah. Well, anyway, she was pushing for Mike, little shit like rock and dope and whatnot. Well, anyway, some dude that don't like Mike got in her head, telling her crazy shit like Mike was a rapist and a thief and that he gonna rob her if she don't watch her back. Just crazy shit. Well, anyway, Dot listened and started stealing Mike's rocks and replacing it with soap and shit. Selling Nick bags for $10, just crazy shit. Anyway, the Dolos, them Mexicans that be down there banging and shit. One of them caught Dot doing that shit. And they fucked her up so bad. I can't get into the details, but what they did to Mike Duvac, that shit is going down. It's the scariest shit to ever happen in Stanford. Jason cut him off. Whoa. Really, Lonzo? You been waiting to tell me that? Really, yo? Maybe a few years ago, that news might have meant something. But that's old news to me, yo. And you're not even in the streets like that. Why should you care? Jason asked. Man, listen. Mike is a good dude. Yeah, he be doing wrong, but he not grimy like that. Anyway, guess who hated Mike and was telling Lil Dot that crazy ass shit about him? Jason closed his eyes and took a sip of beer. I do not care, Lonzo, and neither should you. I don't want to hear it. Jason put his hands over his ears and mumbled like a child. Lonzo shook it off, then jumped headfirst into the pool. Jason walked over to the grill and helped himself to some sausage and a cheeseburger. Jason loaded his burger with tomatoes and ketchup and took one big old bite. He almost made a mess on his new shirt if it weren't for his lightning-fast reflexes. Hey, Jason. Jason looked over to a group of guys walking toward him. They looked young, but he was recognized. They looked young, but he could recognize Julie anywhere. Oh, Julie, what's up? He answered, mouthful of food, his mind full of thoughts about his first ex-girlfriend. Sex. Jason thought to himself. Nothing. Trying to get away from those asses over there, she explained. What? Jason replied. He couldn't take his eyes off her breasts, her D cups bouncing in her bathing suit, her shorts just long enough to cover nothing at all. What? Huh? Jason repeated. Julie grabbed his sleeve and pointed towards some teenage boys taking selfies of their rear ends with their pants pulled down enough to show their cracks. Moonies, they call them. Moonies, they call them. Unbelievable, they're taking Moonies. Julie rolled her eyes and huddled up closer to her ex. She wrapped herself around his free forearm and leaned against his bicep. He couldn't clear his head. What had just happened? Moonies, what? He said again. Forget it, Jason. Come sit with me. Jason walked alongside Julie as if led to a waterhole to drink. He had no direction, no strength, no fear. Where was his reserve? Why and how did she just appear in his life and turn on his sex light like a light switch in the hall? They walked past the pool and jacuzzi to a small sitting area at the rear end of the yard. Jason scarfed down his food. Maybe his mind needed fuel to fight its urge to rid his brain of blood and go, elsewhere. Yes, quiet, just like I like it. Julie leaned back in the chair and lifted her chin to the sunlight. Urges beat at his will until hiccups clobbered him at his every chew. Slow down, Jason. You'll choke yourself. Jason finished the burger and 2 more chews and swallowed hard. His tongue hung out of his mouth like a tired dog. Julie, he managed to stammer after his tongue found a slight moment of clarity in his mind. Yes, she answered, eyes still closed to the sunlight. How are you? Jason got out. Julie sat straight up in her chair. Her eyes popped like the number balls when they're picking a lotto on TV. You really want to know? Julie managed to sabotage the moment in a matter of seconds. Stuff about her little brother and chicken pox. Her nephew has it too, and now she's scared her 2-year-old daughter may have it. Something about her no-good baby daddy, and now she hopes he rots in hell. Her losing a promotion at her job to a no-good cock-sucking whore that screws everybody and never minds her own business. Oh, hi, Julie, Jason remembered. Now he knew who he was talking to and why she was his ex. This moment of clarity turned into an aggravated throb, then into a small ache that soon escalated into a headache. She wasn't done. Somebody had thought it was cute to ding her driver's side door and not leave a note. There were too many assholes in the world and no one to clean up the shit. Her parents are moving to Ohio to be closer to her older sister because she's expecting. But what about me? Me. Jason's mind clouded again. He needed an escape.